Okay, the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, I'd like to open this meeting of the Land Use Review Board on the 28th of January. We wanted to start out by introducing ourselves in a little bit more detail than we did yesterday. I'm Janet Hurley. I'm the new chair. I come from mostly a municipal planning background, though the last few years I've been working with the Bennington County Regional Commission as the planning program coordinator and assistant director there. But my relationship with the Act 250 permit process has been mostly ancillary, not I have never been engaged in a permit process beyond offering comments from either the Regional Planning Commission perspective or the municipal perspective, Municipal Planning Commission perspective. I was part of one, I did represent a town in terms of an appeal in a mediation process at one point. But that was the limit of my relationship with the actual Act 250 permitting structure. So can we go to Brooke next?
If I may offer an amendment to change the agenda, to formally change the agenda to reflect the chair's desire to do introductions first. Motion to move the interim meet and greets to the top of the agenda.
Sure.
I'll second it.
Oh, okay. And what about budget and office updates?
That as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I missed that. Who seconded?
Brooke?
Thank you.
Brooke, can you turn your volume up?
If somebody can help me, I'm not sure how to do that.
Well, that's better, actually.
I pulled it closer to me. Maybe.
Oh,
does that
okay,
work
that's better. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
just
great.
your proximity to the mic, that's all.
Gotcha. Thanks. Well, I'm in this beautiful setting here.
Yeah.
And this is Randolph, Vermont. My name is Brooke Dingledine. I've been a practicing attorney for 30 years and at a firm in central Vermont. And I've had the opportunity to be engaged in Act 250 processes for that entire time. I've appeared before the Environmental Board, the Environmental Court, and now most recently the Environmental Division. And I've had the opportunity to represent really all sides, all comers of the permitting process, from municipalities to individuals, as well as large and small developers. So I'm hoping to bring that perspective of Vermonters on all sides of the issue so that we can find our way to implement the statutory changes and do so in a very thoughtful way to make sure that ultimately Vermonters and the Vermont environment and the housing crisis are all addressed through this process. So I'm delighted and honored to be selected and look forward to working hard on this.
Before we move on to the next, I'm sorry, bear with us as we learn how to work together as a board. We did want to, Sarah made a motion to move 2 items of the agenda upward, and we had a second, but then we didn't discuss and ask for a vote on that. Can we do that now? Is there any discussion? And seeing none from the 5, can we, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
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 And that appears to have been unanimous. No nay votes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, it was unanimous. Thank you. Sorry. Let's move on to Kirsten.
Sure. So apology too. I was having a little technology glitch. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kirsten Sultan. I live in Lyndonville. My background is in civil engineering. I was in private civil engineering for 17 years, roughly. For 4 years, I had my own consulting firm doing, design work, some permitting on a range of, residential, commercial, various projects. Did a fair bit of work in the stormwater design area. And since 2005, so for the last 19 years until this week, I've been assigned and working as the District 7 coordinator, which administers Act 250 for the Northeast Kingdom region. And in that role, I have been involved determining jurisdiction, when do projects, what projects do or don't require an Act 250 permit. When people make inquiries or sometimes in, response to just when people ask for that information. I've been the coordinator role is one of assisting all parties. So that would often include an applicant, helping walk them through the steps and providing guidance so that they can prepare a complete application. But sometimes includes assisting, local officials, state agency contacts, neighbors, anyone who is looking to participate in Act 250. The coordinator provides them with assistance. And then when an application is in front of the district commission, the coordinator is the person who's doing, administering that process, preparing all the documents. All the information and process flows through the coordinator's office. And, the coordinator is supporting the commission and issuing a final decision on the application. And then I guess I would also mention the coordinators, and my work has also been in one of being in a support role to compliance enforcement within Act 250. So I've definitely, I definitely have a pretty deep experience on the sort of frontline administrative side of Act 250, based on that experience over many years here in the kingdom. And together with my, the other coordinators who are assigned to other regions of the state. So I don't
Thank
know who
you.
wants to go next. Sure.
Kirsten, let's go with Alex next.
Everybody. So yeah, a little more introduction from yesterday. My name's Alex Weinhagen. I reside in Burlington, and academically trained as a wildlife biologist. Only worked in that profession for a few years before shifting gears. And my professional experience is primarily as a community planner, a municipal planner. Worked for the town of Heinsberg for a little over 22 years. And my experience with Act 250 has been tangential, as was Janet's. The municipality that I worked for, the town of Heinsberg, was an applicant on a couple of occasions, and so I have some experience being one of those. And the municipality also provided comments on applications that were in front of the district commission in our community, and so have some experience as an interested party, but not an applicant, in a slightly different role. But honestly, the town of Heinsberg is a small community, and the number of Act 250 applications that occurred in that community while I was working there, I could probably number on maybe two hands. So not anywhere near the breadth of experience as Kirsten, who was a frontline district coordinator. But I would say that the work at the municipal level, at least in that planning and zoning department, for the local level review with our development review board, has some parallels. And I worked in a similar fashion to Kirsten at that local level review process, working with all parties involved, applicants, aggrieved neighbors, occasionally the happy neighbor, and the board to render decisions based on, clear standards and regulations.
Thank you, Alex. I guess I should add that I, of course, had a very similar role at the town of Manchester for 8 years, as well as some Chittenden County towns many years ago. And that is a good segue into our final fifth member of the board, Sarah. If you could give an introduction of your
Sure.
background.
Sure, I'll do the quick version. And say that actually my undergrad senior thesis was on Act 250 in archaeology and historic preservation. And so long time interest academically, more of a planner and preservationist, also very lucky within my career to add in floodplain management as a skill set within that. I am your Franklin County rep. I'm from St. Albans, which is my hometown too. And I spent the better part of my career as a planner, probably around 20 years for the town of Colchester. And in that role, we had quite a few Act 250 applications. We would work with applicants in the local regulatory context to try and ensure that we were not being overly duplicative, trying to ease burdens where possible, work with people to navigate that. Unfortunately, there's always the enforcement piece too, where you're looking to pair up with the larger state entity on enforcement when necessary. Also in the town role, looking to make Act 250 applications, jurisdictional opinions for exemptions, and we had a growth center that we worked through some of the designations and delegations to be able to exempt a portion of our development from Act 250 and the process that was involved in that, which is something similar to what we're considering with the tier ones within this nature. And most recently, I spent almost 4 years sort of progressing my municipal career as a town manager for the town of Fairfax, which is in Franklin County as well. And just a lot of permitting regulatory history. And I think I'll speak to sort of a past too in terms of volunteering with the Vermont Planners Association, which Alex might want to chime in again, and just great advocacy and educational roles in terms of the history of Act 250, the planning, and sort of the larger 10,000 foot level, which it's nice to be able to be a part of again. So thank you.
Jana, if you'll allow, I guess I should mention that piece. Sarah's right to bring that up. So yeah, I've been active with the Vermont Planners Association, which is a nonprofit professional development organization. It is the Vermont section of the Northern New England chapter of the American Planning Association, which is a mouthful, but that is the professional organization for planners in the country. And we have a section here in Vermont that I'm the president of at the moment. And when we were hearing from Representative Sheldon yesterday, talking about the long march to Act 181 that created this board and sought to make some reforms to the Act 250 program, VPA was part of that from the very beginning. It was an advisory group to the Commission on Act 250 the next 50 years. And VPA sponsored a really well-attended conference at the Vermont Law School the year prior, I think it was in 2018, and then submitted recommendations to the commission that many of which were incorporated into their report, which was just a very long time ago and took many years after that to actually get legislation through, that eventually became Act 181. But yeah, also have that background for that professional organization.
Thank you, Alex. And I guess I would just sum this up by saying that I think the five of us bring a wealth of different backgrounds together that will really make us well qualified to really work at realizing the potential of this reform that that Act 181 has given us the mandate to move forward on. So I think it shows a lot of promise, and I'm very hopeful that the five of us can help the state realize that promise and, help us alleviate some of the permitting burdens for housing, but also implement smarter protection to our natural resources around the state. And if none of the five have any more points to raise about ourselves, can we move on to asking whether anyone has public comment they would like to share today? Tom, I saw you raise your hand.
I did, thank you. I was also thinking maybe somebody online would also raise their hand, so,
I don't
Thank
see
you.
any yet, so go ahead.
okay, thank you. This is Thomas Weiss, resident of Montpelier again. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. When looking for something else last night, I came across a question on when the terms should actually expire. Statute requires initial terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. The expiration dates provided by the governor in his message to the Senate on January 14th, and which you have posted on your contact us page, thank you for that, do not provide those initial terms. Your appointments began yesterday, so your terms are actually less than a whole number of years. The initial term is 5 months and a few days. And the first term will expire, as I said, in less than half a year. And all terms will fall nearly 7 months short of the statutory requirement for initial appointments. It appears to me that the governor has failed to meet that requirement of statute, which requires terms of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years for each of you. And I see a few noddings that some of you apparently have been aware of that for a while. And I urge you to look into this and to have the terms extended up to a full 1 year term, which means that the first one whose term to expire would be Brooke Dingledine would not expire until June 30th of 2026, not June 30th of this year. If the terms are not extended, that of course means that the nominating committee would have to start work in 2 or 3 years, not 2 or 3 years, pardon me, 2 or 3 months in order to prepare for a vacancy on the 1st of July this year. So I ask you to look into this and see if there is a way to get them extended to
I
meet
think-
the statutory 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years rather than less than half. one and
Yes,
less
thank
than
you.
half, and so on.
Thank you, Tom. We will be doing that. Thank you.
Okay, so sounds like you've already decided to do that, sort of, or?
Uh,
No, I'm sorry, that was an inappropriate question. You don't have to answer it. I appreciate the
Okay.
answer that you'll be looking into it.
We have, we've heard your comment and yes, thank you very much. Anybody else from the public? Annette?
Yes. This is Annette Smith with Vermonters for a Clean Environment. Yesterday, you had some discussion about public comment and when to take it. I'll offer my comments on public comment as I have observed issues that have arisen at Climate Council meetings, of which there have been dozens and dozens and dozens that I have attended. And public comment has become an issue, and it really hasn't been dealt with. Those of us members of the public have said to the council, we feel as though our comments go into a black hole and nothing ever comes of it. The council is a very odd creation, and so there's a facilitator, but it's not like this board, which has a chair. But they are trying to figure out after a couple of years how to respond to public comment. And one of the questions is, should they respond to public comment? So, okay, yesterday I suggested that maybe you have staff come up with a list of all of the issues that are regulated by Act 250 in addition to housing. And so that's the sort of thing that I'd like to have a response to. And I'm not sure exactly what the climate councils come up with because they keep kind of punting and not really coming up with something. But I think that they are maybe leaning towards having written responses after a meeting. So I just toss that out there to say I want to try and help you avoid it becoming an issue. I don't see that it's an issue, but having seen how much of a problem it's been at the Climate Council, especially for people who attend regularly and who feel like they have things to contribute, and it's just never responded to. I hope you take this as a constructive input. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And is there any other public comment today ahead of our rest of our agenda? I don't see any hands, so with that, I think we can move on to the internal and external meet and greet agenda item, because we have moved rules and policies and media and legislative down. So with the internal and external meet and greets up, along with budget and office updates up. So we talked very briefly about this yesterday, the idea of having well, we talked a little bit about regular meetings. We decided to, at least for the initial period, to have regular meetings on Mondays. But one of the things that I wanted to try was to have the board meet at each of the 5 district offices, have each board member who is closest to that district office perhaps help facilitate that happening. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about that idea today here. And so I invite my fellow board members to comment on that.
Good idea. Let's do that. Just a matter of scheduling.
Yeah, Kirsten?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, the St. Johnsbury Regional Office, where the LURB D7 offices are located, has a big conference room that could, that has some plug and play technology. Maybe we would supplement it with the new camera stuff, but yeah, I think we could. I'd be happy to help, make that happen at whatever point makes sense for a board meeting to be based at that location, so that people who are nearest St. Johnsbury, where that office is located, could come in person if they wanted to and participate there. And maybe it would, if there's interest, in my mind, maybe it wouldn't necessarily be limited to just like me as the area board member, but maybe others would be interested to drive up to St. J if they want to see the regional office, et cetera.
I
So
mean, that
I'd be
was
happy
my
to help.
intent, was to have the board be physically present at
Okay,
those
so the
5
whole,
meetings.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And to have district staff there at the, physically if possible, along with commissioners.
I was thinking along the same lines, Janet, that I would really appreciate being able to meet the district coordinators and some of the commissioners. I know it might be a little more difficult with the commissioners, but at least meet them and get a chance to, visit each of the district offices. And if we are going to be meeting every week, it seems to me that there are 5 district offices, perhaps we could just do one a month. Perhaps starting in February, and knock them out by late spring.
Yeah, or even maybe 2 a month, so that we do get our meetings, with getting to know the whole, staff, and just as we got to know each other yesterday a little bit, by being in person, you know, I think it's much easier to, well, I mean, maybe not for everybody, but for me, it's easier to make that kind of connection, physically. So. Sarah, sorry.
It's all right. I like the idea of once a month, because we have a lot of other business to get through. And with traveling around the different areas, I would say that with a lot of meet and greets, usually there's like a pre-canned questions or an agenda that you have that would hopefully standardize between all of them. It might be nice, to sort of not just do a meet and greet in terms of getting to know people, faces, but also hear from the different district offices, you know, some things are working well, some things are concerns, those sorts of general things. So I maybe task one of us or staff of coming up with a sort of a list of general questions, just so that it's very similar throughout for each different one, and there's a level of expectation so people know what to expect.
Thanks. Brooke, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think Kirsten had her hand up, but
Oh, I'm sorry. Hard to see everything. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Well, I was just commenting, I kind of have the lay of the land in the St. Johnsbury office because that's where I've been based out of. I think it might make sense to have that, if it's decided to proceed in this direction, to have that particular visit maybe occur later, hopefully after the D7 coordinator position is filled, because there's otherwise just one staff person assigned to
Yeah.
that location. And then I don't know who else, like, I don't know if Rachel or Pete Gill or someone else in this meeting would want to help advise, just kind of logistically, if they anticipate this would be practicable for the other regional offices. Like, you know, in D5 is co-located at Baldwin. We were all there yesterday.
Yeah, I think in terms of space, we can help arrange, help with those arrangements in the district offices. And arrange for the conference rooms to be available.
There are some, if you want to use them for public meeting spaces, the Essex Junction office would be an easy first location. So keep that in mind. The other district offices have some security permissions that could be limiting for members of the public to come and physically participate in those meetings. So we just want to keep that in mind as well. Some of the state buildings require a list of people attending meetings for security purposes, and that's doesn't necessarily align perfectly with the intent of these public meetings. Just something to think about, but we can certainly help schedule.
In that case, Rachel, there could be other Rutland, for instance, venues that we could have this meeting, that we could hold this meeting at. You know, like the Rutland Regional Commission might be able to host it. So maybe in those cases, maybe we can seek an alternative venue that doesn't have those restrictions.
Yep, we're happy to help.
Okay.
Connect that all together.
Go ahead, Brooke.
I agree with you, Janet, in terms of maybe more often. I think it is important that we do reach out and make that connection. I agree, physically is important. The staff, the commissioners, I think that is a really great idea. And I mean, if people can't physically, if the board members couldn't physically make it, I'm sure that, you know, a couple of us or most of us would be able to. Maybe, you know, if Pete has a different opinion about it, but I would like to see folks in person and meet them and greet them, because I think that is important. And for those members of the public who want to come and meet with, you know, see us in person, I think it's a wonderful idea. So
You know, Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I was
Brooke.
just gonna say, so, dependent on the logistics, we don't want to overburden the staff to try to make this happen, but I think it's terrific.
Yeah, and just, I mean, some people, I think that the hybrid meeting format really opens it up to a lot of people to be able to participate, but there are still a lot of people who aren't comfortable participating virtually in meetings. And I think that this is just another way for us as a board, a public facing board, to be accessible, as well as to get us out there with the staff, the district commission staff and the district commissioners, so that we're all, as cohesive as we can be as as an arm of state government, I guess. So. And go ahead.
Sounds like we're all in agreement. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of logistics, and
Yeah.
I really do think we shouldn't bite off more than we can chew, and there is a little bit of, as Sarah said, sculpting of what an agenda would look like. I'm not interested in just going down and being a burden, frankly, on staff in the different district offices and just shaking hands. Like, I mean, that's nice and all, but I'd like to have the ability to have a substantive conversation. So I guess what I'm saying is I'd like for us to take our time to get it right. And then, like Rachel said, perhaps Essex, if it's easy, could be the first district we visit. I'm happy to help shepherd that since I'm closest to that one. Yeah, maybe we could shoot for like late February as a first one. And then if it goes great and the other districts are easy, we could do them more frequently than once a month. But if not, we could at least make once a month happen for this initial foray.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds
Only
good to me.
Only
Go
thing
ahead.
I'll add to that, if I may, is traditionally we've done some spring trainings and fall trainings for the commission and the staff, and it might be helpful to kind of utilize this opportunity, and this is kind of dovetailing with what you were just saying, Alex, to include some training of staff and commissions at the same time that we do kind of the meet and greet.
Okay. So can we maybe put Alex on an Essex Junction meeting late in February and have him coordinate with Pete and other staff and try to work up an agenda and a program, so to speak. Maybe once we have drafted something like that, the whole board can comment on that. So that Sarah's points about, having a consistent format across these 5 meetings will take shape. Do we need a motion for this and a decision, or is that just
I don't
something that
need a
we can do?
I don't need a motion to go ahead and work on that
Yeah,
with staff,
yeah.
so I'm happy
So-
to do that.
Okay. Okay, so any other comments about that topic? So let's move on to budget and office updates. Pete, are you the lead on that, or is that
Yeah,
Rachel?
I think we'll maybe go tandem here. I can start. The one thing I just was gonna put on the radar for the board and the public is what Kirsten had mentioned is it's wonderful we've got Kirsten on the board, but that also left a vacancy in our coordinator role for District 7. We have a wonderful team of existing coordinators that are helping to fill that gap in the interim. Kevin Anderson, one of our roving coordinators, Pete Kopsko and Aaron Brondike, our state coordinator, taking on that to allow for the continuity of services in that district, which is wonderful. But we are also posting, getting the paperwork ready for posting that position as an open position, and hope to get that built in the near term here. Those things do take time, and we're certainly looking for qualified applicants for that position. That was the main thing I wanted to say there. And then I guess in terms of budget, it would be great to have Rachel chime in just kind of with a broad overview on that. I think we'll probably get more detailed into the budget at another time, but.
Thanks, Pete. I think the big thing is that the governor's address to the General Assembly is happening concurrently with this meeting so the budget address is happening right now with the legislature. So we submitted, a FY26 budget as well as a budget adjustment to just do some technical corrections with some of the appropriations that came out in Act 181. Simply put, some of the there was an appropriation that was put in as a one-time general fund appropriation that was put in as an appropriation and not a transfer. So it's literally some technical details about how that money should be transferred with finance and management. That's what our budget adjustment consisted of this year. I can talk more about our FY26 budget submission, but I think it would be good to confirm that what is in the submission is what is being talked about in the legislature. So maybe that should be tabled until our next meeting. So we can talk conclusive, so we can talk about what is actually within the governor's recommended budget that was submitted to the legislature.
Okay, so we can work that into Monday's agenda. And that's it on budget and office updates.
Yeah, from here, it looks like Alex has a question or comment.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, two questions, Rachel. One, will you know as quickly as Monday what's actually in the governor's proposed budget, or will it take longer to know that?
I think we should know.
Okay.
I think we should know. So Monday should be fine timing to do an update.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you had time. And then the second question was, in preparation for that, I would appreciate seeing the current fiscal year's budget, in our packet so we can understand what that is, never having seen it before.
Right.
We can certainly do that as well.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else on budget and office updates? I don't see anything. So let's move on to rules and policies of the LURB. This is something that we began speaking about yesterday and our legal counsel wanted to weigh in a little bit before we made any decisions about adopting any changes in rules and policies from the NRB. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to hear from our legal counsel on this.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
I just
Okay,
want to flag
Yeah.
the statutory language about the moving into executive session. So it's you make this finding that premature general public knowledge of the confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body would place the body at a substantial disadvantage if done at public meeting. So just wanted to flag that sort of
Is
some of
that-
those key language in the statute.
Should that be in our motion, Allison?
Yes, I would recommend
Okay.
just making clear
Actually,
that it's. Go ahead.
I'd
Brooke.
like to offer that as
Sorry.
a friendly amendment if Alex would so choose to accept that as part of his motion.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Second to the amendment?
I will second it with the amendment.
Okay. Any further discussion? Brooke?
I would suggest that we make a motion to make the finding that premature public knowledge of this information would put the board at a substantial disadvantage. Vote on that and then move to go into executive session.
Not
Allison,
sure
do you
that's
think that's
necessary,
necessary?
Brooke. I think if we sweep it into one motion, it's the same thing.
Okay,
Because we don't have to go into executive session. We could vote not to right now.
Okay, any further discussion? Then let's vote on the motion as as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
fine.
Aye.
Any opposed? That was a unanimous decision, so the board will move into executive session. We have a 30-minute timeframe on this. We've been getting through our agenda items quicker than we've been thinking we were going to, but participants can expect that we will be back in about a half hour. All right, then how do we actually, do we go to the other meeting?
Yeah, so you're gonna
Right.
wanna leave this meeting and go
Okay.
to the executive session meeting that's on your calendar. And I'm gonna put a hold screen on the meeting here, indicating that the board is currently in executive session, and when you all come back, I will take the hold screen off.
Okay, thank you, Maddie.
Yep. I'm just working through getting everyone's microphones working, so just bear with me. Okay. All board members should have access to their microphones now.
Okay, I only see 2 board members. Are all the board members back?
Yes.
Okay,
There's probably 2 Teams screens. At the bottom of the Teams, you'll see a 1/2 with an arrow
okay.
to go over. So there's a
Yeah.
pins are on the other
Yeah.
side.
I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we are back from executive session. Sarah, you have some language that you wanted to posit as a motion.
I would like to move that the Land Use Review Board will continue to operate under the previous rules, guidelines, policies, and procedures of the Natural Resources Board until such time as the Land Use Review Board amends, recognizing that the Land Use Review Board is subject to statutory mandates in the new structure of Act 181.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion from the board members?
Just a clarification that, statute rules, especially new statute. So we'll do the best we can. And where statute tells us that we need to do it a little differently, we'll work on amending rules.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Brooke, did you weigh in? Okay, any opposed? We have a unanimous decision to that respect. Thank you. So, sorry, I need to find the agenda again. Where is
I
it?
believe the next item
There it is.
is media and legislative requests.
Thank you, Alex. Media and legislative requests. That is another item on which our legal counsel wanted to give us a little bit of advice. So if a board member would like to make a finding and motion that we go into executive session briefly for that, I would entertain that.
Just to clarify, I believe the next item on the agenda is enforcement and appeals, which we may also want to enter into a executive session. Perhaps we could enter into executive session to discuss both and come out and report on both rather than going in and out and in and out 2 more times.
Yes, thank you, Alex.
So I would make that motion. I apologize for not having the language clear. Hopefully we'll have it in front of us next time or on the agenda. But yeah, I'll move that we go into executive session to discuss internal and external meet and greets, as well as to discuss media and legislative requests, as well as enforcement and appeals, and that executive session is necessary because discussing that during the public open meeting would put the board at a substantial disadvantage in relation to getting advice from our legal staff.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Do we have discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That was a unanimous decision, and the board members are going to leave and come back after discussing both of those agenda items.
Hi, everyone. The board is still not back from executive session, but just for the record, my computer is about to force an update to Windows 11, which the state has been pushing out over the last few months. So I am going to have to leave the meeting, which is going to stop the recording. And then Rachel Lamonaco, our business director, is going to start the meeting again. And then the executive director, Pete Gill, is going to come downstairs with his computer once the board exits executive session and connect his computer to the TV so that in-person folks can see what's happening with the Teams meeting. So I'm going to do that now. And if my computer reboots in time, I'll be back online, but that's what's about to happen. So thank you for bearing with us with the technology gremlins.
I believe all the board members should have access to their microphones, although I don't see Alex Weinhagen in the meeting quite yet. I think you all know that Maddie Cotter had some technical difficulties, so I'm stepping in to keep the meeting moving forward. And here comes Alex. And the recording is still going. Whenever you're ready, Chair Hurley.
Okay, thank you. We are back from executive session. Is Alex here?
You should be now.
Okay.
And Alex, you should have access to your microphone.
Okay. Sarah, again, you had some language for a motion.
I would like to move that any legislative or media request be made to Peter as our representative and that he work with Janet on a legislative request and Alex on a media request moving forward.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion on that motion from board members? Seeing or hearing none, can all those who are in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That was 5 ayes. Are there any nays? Just to be sure, that was
Janet,
a
here in Montpelier, 1 second, we were not on the meeting when that started. We've got member of the public here. Could we
okay.
just rewind just for a minute? Yeah, I think we're
Sure.
close. Maddie, are we good?
Yeah, everything should be good to go.
We're good now. Sorry about that.
Okay, Sarah made a motion to have any media and legislative requests go through Pete Gill as the executive director of for the board, and that Pete work with Alex Weinhagen on responding to media requests and work with me, Janet Hurley, on legislative requests. We took a vote. The vote was unanimous in support of the motion. And we did not take up enforcement and appeals today in the executive session. So that was not discussed. And so all that we have left to do is to adjourn. But since we have a little bit of time before that, if there is any further public comment, I would entertain that now at this point. Seeing or hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That was 2 seconds, so I guess is
I'll
Matt,
I'll withdraw mine.
okay. Kirsten seconded.
Okay.
Any conversation about adjourning? And hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Rachel, if you end the